ever wondered why some people can sip those whipped coffee drinks all day and they stay lean, while others drink healthy smoothies and immediately gain weight? It's not just about calories, it's actually about chemistry. Certain components or ingredients inside those foods, they speak directly to your metabolism and can turn them on or off in the right or wrong ways. Some drinks, they flip on fat-burning genes, they improve insulin sensitivity, and they help your liver clear toxins. Other ingredients, even natural ones, they can do the opposite. They slow your metabolism, they literally trap fat in your cells. So in this video, I'm going to share 10 fat-losing drinks backed by science that can help you burn fat naturally by activating the same pathways that fasting and exercise do. And this can happen without starving yourself. Now, if you've been following my videos, you know I'm not about quick fixes or short-term fads or occasional detox gimmicks. Everything has an effect, and you may or may not be able to measure it on the scale. But believe me, your metabolism gets affected, your liver and your mitochondria. And are you better off after eating those things? And the drinks that I'm going to talk about, no, they're not going to make you give up your coffee or flavor or your comfort. It will just help you make smarter choices. But before I talk about them, it's important to understand that combining certain foods the wrong way can actually cancel some of the health benefits of those ingredients. And if you think about it, what you drink can actually set your metabolism for an entire day by starting off with the wrong foot. So, for example, if you're used to eating high sugar, high fat in the morning, well, it tells your pancreas to expect that kind of food throughout the day. This makes your insulin secrete higher. However, the right drinks that contain polyphenols, catechins, chlorophylls, and flavonoids, those are basically found in plants. They can switch on your body's metabolic genes. It can activate AMK, an enzyme inside every cell that increases fat oxidation, improves insulin sensitivity, and mimics the benefit of fasting. Isn't that pretty perfect? You can exercise without exercising. And in other words, you can get your metabolism boosted, and it can mimic fasting. And you could do this without skipping meals. It's simply eating the right molecules. And that's what every drink on this list does. Take number 1, green tea, the mitochondrial switch. Green tea isn't a hype. It's one of the few natural beverages clinically proven to boost fat metabolism. After all, it's a green leaf. Have you ever thought about how a plant survives the stress of being in the sun for hours under that UV radiation? That's its defense mechanism. So green tea has catechins, especially EGCG, EGC, ECG, and EC, which are flavonoids that are produced by the tea plant called Camellia sinensis as a defensive mechanism to protect itself not only against UV radiation, but pests and physical stress. So anything that stresses the plant slightly, short of killing it, will elicit a strong response through the defense system of the plant. Sunlight, nutrient restriction, or a mild drought actually increases the catechin concentration. However, once stress becomes too extreme, the catechins, they oxidize or degrade. So timing and balance are everything. Sun exposure drives higher catechin synthesis because UV light triggers shikimate and phenylpropanoid pathways, the same biochemical routes that produce flavonoids. Shade-grown teas like matcha or gyroku, they actually contain less catechin and more L-theanine, which gives them a smoother, sweeter taste, but they have lower antioxidant potential. Now, in contrast, sun-grown green teas like sencha or bancha, they have higher catechin levels, especially EGCG, giving them a more astringent taste and stronger metabolic effects. And you can think of it like this. A rule of thumb is the more bitter the tea is, the more catechins it has. Now, I actually visited an actual green tea farm several years ago in China, and the tea farmer, she would tell me all about young versus old leaves. The youngest leaves are the top bud, the first 2 leaves. They have the highest catechin concentration because the plant hasn't yet converted many catechins into polymerized tannins. So the Chinese has been drinking tea for eons, and I wanted to show you a specialty that I found in the store recently. So I went to a specialty tea shop, and I found this tea that has many flavors combined in one. Okay, so I want you to look at this. This is like a bud. Can you see it? So these are tea leaves woven in this shape. Okay, I'm going to place this tea in this cup, and we're going to take a look at what happens to this tea when I pour hot water in it. Apparently, it's supposed to be really, really unique. So I've never done this before. You are going to witness this just like me, as a novelty. All right. So I'm going to pour some hot water and let's see what happens. So this tea opened up like a flower, and it smells really sweet. It's very fragrant. So, this is the first time I've tried it. I actually have to look up what kind of flower is inside, but it's delicious. Now, after harvest, oxidation must be stopped immediately. She told me that the youngest leaves, they actually have the least amount of pesticides, and they are the least bitter in terms of flavor. The older leaves, or the mature leaves, they contain actually more fiber and cellulose, so they also have less catechins. And that's why premium sencha or Longian teas, when they're harvested early, they're richer in EGCG. So Japanese producers, they steam the leaves at about 100 degrees Celsius for 15 to 30 seconds. And this deactivates the polyphenol oxidase enzymes that degrade the catechins. In Chinese teas, they often pan fire the leaves instead, which can actually destroy some of the catechins depending on the temperature and duration. The faster the enzyme inactivation, the more catechins survive. And that's why Japanese steamed green teas, such as sencha, fukumushi, shincha, they often test highest in EGCG per gram. Now, if you're a farmer, you know that soil quality and temperature matters. So moderate altitude, 600 to 1200 meters, and cooler nights slow leaf growth, thereby concentrating secondary metabolites like catechins as well as caffeine. So slightly acidic, mineral-rich soil, about a pH of 5 to 6, it supports the optimal catechin synthesis by improving nitrogen availability. And nitrogen, if you remember, are the amino acid precursors that feed the flavonoid pathways. Now, catechin degradation occurs with heat, with moisture, and oxygen. So fresh leaves, they really need to be dried quickly below 60 degrees Celsius, and they need to be stored in an airtight seal away from light. Now, even high catechin tea can lose up to 40% of its EGCG after 6 months if exposed to humidity or heat. So why did I spend all this time talking about catechins? Because it's the catechins, especially EGCG, that activates AMK, the enzyme triggered by exercise and fasting. And this helps convert white fat into beige fat. This helps burn more calories even when you're at rest. So studies show that just 2 cups a day can increase fat oxidation and reduce abdominal fat. And this is independent of any dietary change. However, for best results, you need to steep the tea fresh, not bottled, and you drink it unsweetened. Preferably an hour before your first meal, because those who have an iron deficiency, well, just know that when you drink tea, it inhibits iron absorption from your food. Now, if you have hemochromatosis, that may be an advantage. And if you don't, that may be a disadvantage. Oh, by the way, if you like to add milk to your tea, well, you may want to try a plant-based milk because it's well known that the protein in milk will bind to the polyphenols in the tea. And for those of you who like to drink from tea bags, well, you may want to reconsider that and get some loose leaves. Because did you know that just one tea bag can release thousands of microplastics into your system? But if you're bored with green tea, how about try oolong tea? It's called the afternoon fat release because oolong is a middle child of teas, half green, half black, but they're metabolically still powerful. Oolong tea is still from the same plant, Camellia sinensis, but it's partially fermented. And chemically, it's probably between a green tea that's unfermented and a black tea that's fully oxidized. And that means it contains both catechins like green tea, which activate AMK and enhance fat oxidation, and theaflavins and thearubicins like what they find in black tea. Now, that supports your gut microbiome and lipid metabolism. So oolong carries the metabolic benefits of both ends of the tea spectrum. It's delicious. It combines the catechins from the green tea and the theaflavins from the black tea, which ultimately just boost your fat oxidation, potentially up to 20% for several hours. Now, oolong has been shown to reduce abdominal fat while preserving muscle mass, which is crucial for long-term metabolic benefits. Your muscle is really the organ that so many of us neglect. And if you've ever had oolong, you know it's a perfect mid-afternoon drink to sustain fat burning between lunch and dinner and can give you that perk. But if you don't like tea, then I bet you're a coffee drinker and you're in luck. Because number 3 is a light to medium roast coffee, which I call the liver defender. And coffee is really more than caffeine because you can drink decaffeinated and get the same benefit. It's one of the richest antioxidant sources in the American diet. But sadly, It is probably a significant source of fiber in the American diet because Americans don't eat much fiber. Yes, coffee has fiber, so very little, that's why it's so sad. But a little bit of fiber is better than no fiber. So light to medium roast, it actually preserves the chlorogenic acid, the compound that protects your liver, improves insulin sensitivity, reduces fat storage, and gives you all the longevity benefits that you want in coffee. However, if you drink dark roasted coffee, especially from some famous manufacturers, well, you may have zero power in that cup. And people who drink 2 or 3 cups of black coffee a day, they have significantly lower rates of fatty liver, liver fibrosis, and type 2 diabetes, unless you're adding sugar and fat. So skip the sugar and cream. That's where most people go wrong. But I can see how people would want coffee for its plant chemistry, not its calories. And coffee really combines so well with cocoa. And last year I had the privilege of visiting Lindt Chocolate Museum in Switzerland, and I learned that the original hot chocolate had no sugar and no milk. And guess what? That is a longevity drink. Number 4, unsweetened hot cocoa. The craving control drink is what I call it. It turns out that the real stuff, real cocoa powder, not the processed chocolate, not Dutch chocolate, the real stuff contains flavonols that improve circulation, that stabilizes blood sugar, and it curbs your appetite. So in studies, cocoa actually reduce hunger hormones and improve insulin sensitivity within weeks. Now, a warm, unsweetened cup of hot chocolate after dinner can help you feel full, reduce nighttime cravings, and even improve sleep thanks to magnesium. And you know that chocolate is a roasted, fermented food, right? So you want to eat those naturally light roasted cocoa, not the over roasted one that's bitter. And you want to skip the sugar and milk, or you may nullify its benefits. So far we've been talking about pretty common, universal, well accepted drinks. But let's talk about a green drink. Number 5, kale juice. I call it the chlorophyll detoxifier. Kale juice is not just about cleansing, it's about chemistry. The chlorophyll, magnesium, and especially the glucosinolates. Now, people who regularly drink green vegetable juices, they actually show better bile flow and they have lower liver fat in clinical studies. So I personally would drink it mid-morning with some lemon because there's so many different kinds of essential metals like zinc and magnesium in leafy greens. Sometimes people put a little bit of ginger. It actually helps to alkalinize your blood. Your blood can't really alkalinize, but it makes it less acidic. And then, you don't have to starve, right? Number 6 is a blueberry shake. This is the metabolic shield. Literally, blueberries are amongst the most studied fruits for metabolic health. They're anthocyanins. They activate AMPK and raise adiponectin, a hormone that helps your body release stored fat. In human trials, daily blueberry consumption improved insulin sensitivity and reduced inflammation even without calorie restriction. Blend some blueberries with your water. Add some soy milk or oat milk or some ground flaxseed. I don't put any sweeteners. I actually blend it with my kale. It's filling, it's full of antioxidants, it has glucosinolates, it's low in calories, it helps to act as a fiber wall for all your other food, and it feeds your gut microbiome. You can't ask for a healthier food. Number 7 is ginger tea, the thermogenic activator, which is ginger. It raises your body's body temperature and it increases caloric burn, the thermogenic effect, but its real power lies in regulating blood sugar and calming the gut. Fresh ginger tea improves digestion, it reduces bloating, and increases satiety. And in metabolic studies, it lowered fasting glucose and improved cholesterol profiles. You can brew it fresh from sliced ginger root. You can even use powder. You can sip it throughout the day. I take ginger right before I get on an airplane so I don't get the side effects of motion sickness. Number 8 is passion fruit water. It's refreshing, it's full of vitamin C. I call it the insulin helper. Passion fruit is rich in piocetyl-tanol, a compound structurally similar to resveratrol that improves insulin signaling in fat cells. And adding the pulp, or some people add the rind, to water infuses antioxidants without the sugar or calories. It's a great hydrating option that supports metabolism during time-restricted eating. Now, lightly tart, naturally satisfying, and far better than juice or soda. Now, number 9 is hibiscus tea. Fat and blood pressure regulator. Deep red hibiscus tea isn't just pretty, it's potent. Now, clinical trials have shown that it lowers blood pressure, reduces triglycerides, and it helps metabolize liver fat. Now, its anthocyanins, they slow carbohydrate absorption and improve endothelial function, meaning you get better circulation and energy. Now, you can drink it hot or cold, even twice daily. It's one of the simplest ways to support both weight and heart health. And number 10 is apple cider vinegar. It's known as a gut primer, and some people mix a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in warm water before their main meal. The acetic acid from the vinegar activates AMK. That then helps muscles take up glucose more efficiently. That flattens post-meal blood sugar spikes, and it also improves digestion and satiety, and it potentially can help you eat less without feeling deprived. Now, the key, of course, in moderation without these foods, I actually try to make it a point to add some balsamic vinegar whenever I eat my meals. And if you want to learn more powerful metabolic foods, watch the next video.